Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Racing Line, the Formula 1 podcast by fans, for fans. China was the place where it was at, and Oscar Piastri took home a win. It is going to be up and about. We had a sprint race weekend. We had a dry weekend, which was nice to see a little bit of speed from some of the cars, starting to get a few indications. And we are joined by Tristan Pocock and Sam. Hello, boys.
Hello, mate. Hi, Sam.
How's it going,
Listeners.
What's going on?
Nothing. How are you feeling after last week? Take 17 there that you just had for our intro.
As a starting point.
As a starting point. And you know, I always say first 5 minutes dictates how the episode's going to go.
Yeah, well, there's some feedback on our podcasting.
Is there?
Yeah,
Good.
I've had quite a bit of feedback.
Oh, after last week's episode?
Yes.
You were up and about.
And I tell you what,
And something
it was
good.
positive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit of. a little bit of kickback on some of the.
It was a roller
aggression.
coaster in here.
Yeah.
It was a couple of sleepless nights because I was worried about you.
No.
And it was just...
No, there was positive feedback.
Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing it or hearing about
Most of it was positive.
Okay. And is this like, where
There's
will,
some of it
where will I
wasn't.
find this feedback?
It's been
Is it written down or
it's been sent to me
Oh, it's okay.
in all sorts of areas.
Oh,
But no,
good.
people like a bit of passion.
Yeah, passion's the word.
They
for
want
last
you to
week.
switch on.
Me to switch
Yeah.
on.
Apparently, you're a little sleepy land.
I was the calm one last week.
Yeah, but they don't like the short answers.
That's
Helmut
probably-
Marko.
They want more.
That's probably what gave that vibe. It's because I was sort of here with 2 chihuahuas last week.
We're on.
You both are very on.
Passion.
Anyway, it's great to be here.
It was passion.
It's great to be. And there'll be more passion this week because Oscar's won. As there should be.
Yeehaw.
As there should be. And a win from pole. So I'm looking forward to that.
I can't wait to talk
Cool.
about
Sam's
it. I
here.
can't wait
Try
to
not
talk
to
about
swear
it.
this week, Sam.
Sam started it, didn't he?
Yeah, you did actually because you
Mum.
walked in.
Sam started it.
Yeah, you walked in and then you just started swearing at everyone. And then that just set the tone for the rest of the night. It was all downhill from there. So just don't relax, Sam. Just relax. It's great to have you, but chill
just
out.
having a beer. Yep,
Yeah,
it's going to be
chill,
fine.
chill out. Has he already finished?
No,
Far out. You've nearly finished.
We're in our second round of beers around the world. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't mind this one.
So-
I was saying to you off air. This is
Lots were saying that I can't remember what the beer was. There's a common beer.
Yep.
And I went in to grab it, and then sitting beside it, I see these Lucky Buddhas.
Lucky Buddhas.
Okay, if you had a Lucky Buddha, you know what we're talking about. This beer, check our socials, is shaped like a Buddha, and it's a very straightforward Asian lager, and it is refreshing. I'm enjoying it.
As I was saying to you off air, I had one of these in Melbourne many, many years ago, and I thought the bottle was that brilliant that I had one of my other house friends smuggle it into her bag to bring it home because I wanted the bottle so
I think
much.
It
was a
stressful
stressful
when
time.
you were very young.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Only to realise you can buy it from every good bottle around your local area. It's not as rare as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so when I first saw it, I thought, it's Thai. Must be Thai. It's not. It's Chinese lager.
Good.
What do you think of the brew, Mr. Brew?
Yeah, it's pretty
Brewmaster
good.
himself?
Nice balance, a little bit of hop, just a little bit dry. It's very balanced and quite a nice pick. So thank you for the...
I was talking about the bottle.
That's an
You've
in-depth
got it.
description.
Shoot, yeah.
I'm only joking. No, yeah, I agree with all those things. But yes, it's the bottle that drew me in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the better one's the other one, but I was like, no, I'm drinking out of these bottles, that's for sure.
I love how you know that, Sam, because for me, that's just beer. I had a beer last week. There's a beer this week.
You had 3 different
That's the
beers
diff.
last
I
week.
know how.
But we appreciate the honesty.
Sorry
so
for my reaction
why
on the
not?
last one. Because
It brings me to my opening question. We're going to have all the goodies this week.
Are back.
We're going to have a little bit of F1.5 chat.
Just a little bit of chat.
Just a little
Just
taster,
a little bit of chat. I was thinking
Yep.
about it on Monday night.
Yep. And then we're going to get into some fantasy.
We're going to do predict. I forgot
Full
predict. I'm sorry.
Race rundown.
Yep. Everything. Fan frenzy will follow.
All
Lots
right.
and lots and lots to get into.
We've got an opening question. It comes from Kingsley, good friend of the show. His question is, when a friend who will remain nameless, who has his own podcast, decides to showcase 2 of the most mediocre beers on the market for his internationally renowned sporting platform for all the world to behold,
Yeah.
What should you do with this friend is his question.
Oh, okay.
So he's not happy. He's not happy that
What's not happy?
we had the chance to show some Australian beers,
Yep.
and I brought in a VB and a Great Northern. Now,
Yep.
the backstory to this is I had to drink these.
Yep.
I didn't say how much I had to drink of these, but I had to drink these as part of a beer tasting contest.
Oh, okay.
And so I got rid of them to you two
Yeah.
in thirds.
Sure.
Very genius. But then we did have a nice pale ale at the end.
Yep.
The goat pale ale was quite nice. But yeah, so no, he was very... Probably let's go to the question. What do you do when you're ashamed of a friend?
What do you do when you're ashamed of a friend?
Yeah, I think that's what his question is.
Just continually shame them, because it gives you... I can't speak from experience. It just gives you... It's kind of like a free pass to just to openly just shame them in public with friends on a podcast, maybe. It's a green light.
Absolutely.
It's a green light.
Absolutely. You
That's
don't
what
don't
90%
confront them head on.
No, if they do
bring up-
something shameful, it is green light.
Continually
it's all yours.
bring up jokes about it.
Yep, continually
And when the
belittle
matter's
them,
got a little bit old,
bully them.
you go even more.
Yes.
When they're getting a bit tired of it,
Yep.
you go harder.
And when you have nothing, then it's a good opportunity to go back and revisit those times
Absolutely.
where they were absolute clowns.
Absolutely.
Sounds like 90% of what we do here.
Sam, you're a lot nicer guy than we are.
Oh, sure. But at the same time, I think if I was ever ashamed of them, they're probably going to throw some shame back at me for what it's worth. Like at the time, like if you're ashamed of a best mate and everything like that, the mateship's really good. That no matter what they do, they'll throw it back on you as well.
Absolutely.
So it's good banter. I think is the Australian terminology. So otherwise, like what's going on with them, and walk off if you need to, but. If you're good mates and you can get through anything, she'll be right.
Geez, this felt like an episode of Oprah for a minute. didn't it?
Diplomatic answer.
Felt like an episode of Oprah then. I felt like we've just given true friendship advice.
Yeah.
But the amount of hell that you guys have put me through because of my
Absolutely.
beer choices, my riding choices.
Track choices. Don't forget when you said that
Yep,
the French Grand Prix was
good. Yep.
legitimate Grand Prix.
Yeah, I forgot about
Still,
that.
still a friend of the podcast after my comments about a French
Yeah, it took
GP
a
that
while.
one time.
Yeah,
Yep.
you said it, not us.
Took a
I
while.
did.
Yeah, no, we haven't forgotten.
No.
Shameful friend. There we go.
I forgot. We need a race ranking a week.
shit.
Weekend race.
Weekend ranking, yeah.
Oh.
Weekend ranking. I'm going to give it a 7. And I think it's probably understated because of what we came off last week. Like, Melbourne was brilliant.
Are you suggesting that's a generous 7? or not?
Yeah, it's a generous 7
Okay.
because race-wise it was a little bit of a procession, but you can sprinkle in a fair bit of overtakes happening. But then we had an Oscar win and a pole, which was good. I don't know. I feel like last week is sort of spoiled this week.
Don't know if it spoiled it.
None of it spoils it, but I mean, like, you know.
It overshadowed.
If we didn't have last
it was
week.
a big season opener.
Yeah, it was a brilliant. So, yeah, a generous 7. Generous 7.
Sam?
Weekend 7, completely agree with Tristan. Race 6, and it gets a bonus point because Piastri had the pole and the win. Like you're getting 5.
So hang on. So you're giving it a 5 in general?
Or are you giving it a 7?
I'm giving the race a 5, weekend a 7.
Oh, 5.
It was a race.
Yeah, did you enjoy being at watching that race?
Oscar won.
It was a good afternoon,
pole.
but there are better races I could have been watching.
Such as?
Japanese Grand Prix.
That's
Usually got a little bit more. Like
That's in 2 weeks' time. So.
Ricardo in 2018. There's your 9 out of 10 Chinese Grand Prix.
I'm giving it an 8.
Okay.
Weekend
7
8.
usually.
Yep.
Oscar win puts it to an 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was plenty going on.
There was lots going on.
I was enjoying the race.
Yeah.
If procession means that there's no chance of overtake, there's no opportunity for nothing to happen.
There were times where it was a little bit processional.
Anything for us, Sam, anything below 5 is you'd rather be doing something else.
Yes.
And I can't
think of a time we've given a 4. Well, maybe. Oh,
You
Sochi.
have.
I've probably
You
given
have.
a plenty of Sochis
You
and
were
French Grand
very,
Prix.
you were very fourish.
Yeah.
Spa that one
That's
time.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let me ask the question.
Yep.
Let me ask the question. Who's got the pace? We ask this question sometimes.
Dang.
Jeepers.
It's McLaren, and then I'm going to make it a bit harder. We can't just find out who's got the pace. It's McLaren at the moment.
All right, it's McLaren.
They got the all-round car. They haven't completely got across it, have
Okay,
they?
no.
Qualifying is still a bit of a mystery to them at times.
Yeah. Yeah, it
But
looks
it's
a little
more
bit
of a
on the
mystery.
knife's edge.
It's more of a mystery to everybody else.
Absolutely, it is.
Yep.
I'm
Who's
going to
got
go McLaren
Into
into George.
The driver?
Yeah.
The singer?
Yeah, can I have individual drivers?
Yeah, well, we have to.
Well, we have to, yeah. So it's McLaren into George, into Ferrari, into Max.
Wow. Golly.
Don't sleep on George at the moment, because third and third, yeah. And
what does that mean?
Just
what is it? Don't say a sentence and say yeah.
Unexpected third and third. Not a lot's gone wrong in front of him to get that third, so he hasn't sort of like inherited thirds. That's on pace, and I don't know. Just don't sleep on him.
What does that mean?
But I just got a funny feeling like
Do
that
you
he's
think
gonna.
that George is more or less than what he's showing?
I think George is in this.
Oh, okay, yes,
like very much so. Like he's in this. Like
right.
In 10 weeks' time, 5 weeks' time, I don't think I'll be shocked if George is leading the World Championship, to be brutally honest. That's a long stretch.
Right.
The note I wrote before this race
Yeah.
was the thirds and the seconds in this season
They're so
are going to be so important.
The consistency is
Yeah.
so important. And that's why I'm looking at Max as well. Like, maybe you could go half the season without a win and be there. Because there's so many in it at times. So, and like I said, he hasn't inherited thirds. It's all on pace. So I've got a good feeling about him for some reason.
The inheritance I think he's had is the fact that everyone hasn't got it together yet.
Yeah,
And I think, I'm not sure, once everyone gets it together...
You think he's going to be a little bit further down?
Possibly, but...
Ferrari may be doing him a favour because they're both not on it, and they really should be on it.
And they were for the sprint race.
And then they weren't, so...
Yeah, they're a bit all over the joint. So, yeah, it's going to be an incredibly interesting season. It's so much fun when you don't know the answers to questions. So often we know the answers to some questions as we're getting into it, but not this time round. Have you got any... I'm with you on those pace notes, by the way. Have you got any changes on McLaren into George, into Ferrari, into Max?
Definitely say McLaren into Mercedes. Antonelli's just getting used to it. Mm-hmm. He's very young. He's just getting to grips with the car, and he's always moving forward in the pack. He's never just stagnating and staying in the one spot.
I think he only moved forward last week because of disqualifications, wasn't he?
He was getting up in the pack throughout the race in China. What on earth Ferrari are doing, and is that hiding pace, or is that just really where the pace is?
I just don't think they understand it at the moment.
Yeah.
So do you think they're third?
I think Ferrari
ahead of Max?
Yep, definitely. Okay. Max is out-driving that car like Alonso was doing last year with that Aston Martin.
And you can only do that for so long, can't you? You can't out-drive a car for a whole race, necessarily. You can only get moments out of it, and we found that out at China, where the race sort of came back to him a little bit, didn't it? Let's get into the races. A sprint race weekend. Sam, tell me about your thoughts on sprint races.
I think at the right venue, they're pretty good. Because with Shanghai, you think about turns 1 through to 4, where you've got plenty of overtaking opportunities, plenty of lines to switch back, so you've got plenty of turns to make your moves. Get through to about the second sector, still plenty of places to switch your lines and everything. And then if you've got the most powerful engine and can carry it down that long straight through the DRS and into that sharp hairpin, you've got a lot of move potential. So I think Shanghai's the right place. Other tracks aren't the right place for a sprint race. So choose the right track. Sprint races are good. Shit track. Sorry. Oh, damn it. And the podcast is out.
He's gone straight to it, Tristan.
Yeah. Sam.
Didn't drop the F. But yeah, I think Shanghai is the correct place for a sprint race, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't mind a sprint race there. I sort of feel like sprint races are wasted when there's not massive crowds.
Yeah,
I feel like massive crowds are important for a sprint race too, because it's such quality viewing. Like,
I had such an urge to throw out the idea that we go to China next year, because
throw out the idea that we go. Like, you don't want to go to China next year.
No, that we do, because there was no one there.
Oh, as in we
go.
Yes.
There was no one there. The paddock was a ghost town.
What's with that?
Whereas the paddock that we've just been at, like, it was absolutely jam-packed in every single way and every sense of the word. There were grandstands that were empty, and I mean, like, almost empty across the Friday and the Saturday morning. And I just thought, wow, I saw a really interesting post on Instagram. It was 125 £1,500 for a 3-day pass.
Yeah, what is with this?
With a seat at the hairpin.
Is it like Shanghai?
That's brilliant.
How far out of Shanghai is it? But
I don't know.
There's
but
people there.
I think we need to do some research around it. But
well, the research I've done in China so far is there's a few people there. In China.
Jeez,
yeah.
tell me more.
So I'm not entirely sure.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
So how insightful. Anyway, maybe we need to have a look into it. But yeah, it's just one of those venues, isn't it? You get a couple of venues sprinkled throughout the year where there isn't anyone. And then you have the extremities the following weeks where it's just wall-to-wall people and fans. So, yeah. I don't know.
It was interesting.
Saying pre-season testing. There's no one at pre-season testing. Like your diehards are there.
Well, I think it's very limited in who's allowed to attend.
Yeah,
I'm not sure they open it all up.
No. Anyway, something. Yeah, it caught my eye actually too across the weekend.
How much would you pay to go to pre-season testing if it was in Australia?
Oh, jeez.
Wouldn't it be brilliant?
Like whatever you asked.
Wouldn't it just be brilliant?
I wouldn't bat an eyelid at going to it.
I just really feel like Formula One's missing a trick there. I would have thought people were so keen to go and watch cars go around a track.
I think it's just your absolute diehards. So look at the Tifosi that went to Maranello and watched that. Like they were cutting trees down, literally, to watch Lewis and Charles go around. You know, obviously Lewis more so, but
time of year wouldn't support it. Time of year doesn't support it in Europe.
No,
and so you'd have to take it somewhere that at that time of year is going to be supportive to testing and that sort of stuff. But I mean, I guess we were in Spain for a long time for it, but that's slightly warmer climate than what we're probably in the rest of Europe. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Let's get into the race now. We'll go through in race order in terms of finishing order, but feel free to drop into any sort of areas of sprint race, either the qualifyings, anything else that tickles your fancy with each of the drivers. We're going to start with Aussie Oscar Piastri taking home a very, very classy win. Sometimes you see wins where it's given back to you because of some strategy, like what his first win was.
Yep.
And then the second win, it was it was a closer win. It was like there was some opportunities taken, but it was a closer win. This one was just a straightforward pole to the finish win, controlled the race, controlled the pace. I had loads of people sending messages saying, is this race in danger here because is Norris going to start coming at him real hard? And it was my response the whole time was, he is controlling the pace beautifully, he's looking after tyres. It is the exact sort of win you want from a guy in his third season of Formula One.
Yep.
And he's in a dominant car. There was no chance that anyone else was going to take that win off him, and it was a very classy act. Boring as batshit for people who weren't Oscar Piastri fans.
Absolutely.
Because there was, like, if you knew your Formula One, you knew that there wasn't going to be a really hard challenge unless there was a safety car or something like that. But he just got the job done beautifully, controlled the race really nicely. Sam, thoughts on his weekend?
Last year, when I was a little bit critical of the fact that he wasn't managing his tyres well, it would cause late drop-offs and everything. Nope, it's completely addressed. And even when they were talking about, are we going to plan C? Do you think A can work? Can we do B? And the entire time, he's just going along with it and saying, I can make it work. Can you guys make it work? And he just got the job done. And that is just brilliant from Oscar.
Yeah.
No fuss. Has addressed all the problems that, well, so far, we're only 2 races into the season, but so far he's addressed all the problems and any critiques I had from last year. So I'm incredibly happy with that. Boring if you're not a Piastri fan, but great.
I'm holding on that just at the moment because we know the control of you are so much better off, particularly at China, out in front of everybody else in terms of tyre wear. So I'll hold off on his tyre wear management just at the moment, not because I don't think he's done it, just because we need more evidence to see that he's made those changes and made the adjustments required. But every driver struggles throughout the year at different tracks with tyre management. So as long as he's with everybody else and he's struggling the same amount as everybody else, that's 100% fine. But I'm with it. He managed that race beautifully. He could have torn off into the distance and he could have destroyed his tyres, but he didn't do that Tristan, thoughts on his race?
That was absolutely brilliant. I really wish we had have heard his reaction after pole as well. Said he had a massive scream in his helmet and then gave us the real calm, collected Oscar that we know.
Yep.
But
telling us about the scream in his helmet, but not actually letting us hear it.
Doing it. Like, we had the real gut feeling that he was going to start really well this year. He could be leading the World Championship right now, which he probably would be. In fact, yes, because he had the points in the sprint race as well. So I think this is exactly the start that we looked for. It was a fantastic race. It's been building for a long time. This next step forward with him. You're right, he managed his tyres beautifully. His pace was terrific. His pole was outstanding. And it was a faultless weekend, wasn't it? He did not set a foot wrong all weekend.
I was really impressed with his sprint race too. Getting in ahead of Verstappen isn't an easy feat. And we actually saw overtaking really, really difficult in China. And I know that he had the faster car, but getting ahead of Verstappen is not an easy feat.
No. That took a little bit of time.
But it was controlled though. It wasn't a reckless, I'm going to go thrash everything out, which probably is it's fun to watch, but it's probably a Norris thing. Like, he'll thrash out these results and then they end up coming together and that sort of thing, which is great to watch. And he's a fantastic Formula 1 driver, but yeah, it was typical Oscar, wasn't he? He did it in such much boring fashion.
Yeah.
Where he just worked him over, and then went and took it because he knew that Red Bull wasn't going to protect the tyres the same way. Did it mean that he couldn't win the sprint race? It did, but that was still a controlled. Like, winning the sprint race is one more point.
That's right.
It is not worth it to risk everything.
And I feel that he would have spent that sprint race going, I'm pretty content here with second or third. Even third, he would have been very happy with.
Absolutely.
Knowing that the big prize is Sunday, and he would have been paying real close attention to what Max was doing and what Lewis was doing and what their tyre deg was doing as well. He's just that type of driver.
Yep. Norris's race, that start was perfect McLaren teamwork, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was.
It was just a picture of perfection for McLaren.
And he did get a little bit caught out and then dipped that wheel.
Who's that?
Lando did. Got a little bit caught out and boxed in, which cost him 2 spots. And then the brake issue towards the end of the race too, which was, lucky to finish in my eyes, to be quite honest. That was getting worse.
It was getting worse, but they seemed to manage it to the end, I guess.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to that start, the way that Oscar managed to bring his teammate into that start, because Lando obviously qualified third on the grid, but they worked it nicely, and then just worked their way out into the distance from there. Well, it was never in doubt from there. Worked their way out, created the gaps required for each driver, and they didn't go and rush and do those things. There was good communication in the team. These papaya rules worked out really nicely for them because, there was good communication. Oscar moved forward when he needed to move forward, and Lando got his gap that he needed to get, and it was just, it was an interesting display from a team that we've seen in all sorts of horror spots over the years. To see them sort of pull off a win like that, 1-2 like that, was impressive. Sam?
It was incredibly animated for the beginning of Lando's race and the very end of it. At the beginning, with the battle with George Russell and making sure he didn't take out his teammates, all the switches through those first turns. Mm-hmm. And then right at the end, as he lost the brake pedal, and you could see the timing, because, hey, F1 timing board was actually up and running this weekend, which was great.
Yeah.
Watching how quickly Russell was closing in on him in the second sector and the building dread and thinking what will happen at that hairpin, I was incredibly animated, along with Paige, who's a Norris fan, was just amazing. But he got in second. Great job.
For the first time ever, I had sympathy for the broadcaster because the broadcaster needed to show Oscar cross the line in first.
Yeah.
Which coincided with the exact same moment Norris was coming into the hairpin with Russell tearing down the long straight after him.
To give you an indication of just how close that was getting across the 4 laps of the issue. So lap 53 had a 9-second gap. Lap 53 had no issue, and then the break went long in lap 54, and this is what George caught him across the last 3. So it was 1.4, then he caught him 3.5, and then he caught him by 3.9 across just 3 laps. One more lap and he was gone. He really was. Half a lap and he was gone. So that escalated quickly.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like, the brake issue was actually there before then, but it wasn't reflecting in times. But they knew that it was going to get worse.
Yeah.
And what a sense of dread for a driver, knowing that you've got this issue that is going to get worse progressively.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's not affecting you, but how is it going to affect me in the future? And then for it to be a brake issue, I mean, yeah, you could see how early he was breaking into corners and lifting off and those sorts of things. But yeah, it was exciting viewing. Not for Norris, I'm sure, but he was very pleased to get the job done. Like we said, Russell, 2/3 now. That sort of behaviour is going to keep you in this hunt throughout this season, and it is. Yeah, it was impressive, wasn't it? The Mercedes, it's put a Hamilton in it, and is it clearly the second best car, or is it still like a Russell thing? Do you think? Because Hamilton wasn't necessarily pedaling it as well as Russell last year.
I kind of feel like George is adding a little bit of 10% to that. Let's say it's like 90% car and then 10% George. I think he stepped up. I'm a little bit surprised at how well he stepped up, because I had doubts about that at season's end. Is he ready to lead a team and do this? And at the moment, I know it's only after 2, but yeah. And I think he is driving that very, very well.
I'll take that as a compliment to me. Okay, fair enough.
Don't know about that.
Well, I told him last week, put on your big boy pants and lead this team. Do you remember this? Yes, that was one of my rants. One of my rants about George putting on your big boy pants, sunshine, after him saying that, Mercedes can go and start developing 26 because we're nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And I stand by those words. But yeah, I feel like he's coming along okay.
And not comparing him to Kimi when I look at that either. I'm just looking at George's standalone, because I don't think you can compare Kimi and him at all across this season. So, yeah.
Until they start racing each other really closely.
I guess, yeah, we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to Kimi. Sam, you seem to be pretty impressed with Kimi.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Going through a few of the race highlights, and again, the Mercedes Instagram page posting his overtakes and how he was really getting it done. Just a really good weekend for his second race in Formula One machinery. And you look at a few of the other rookies, which we'll get to later on. Sure. It was just a nice, controlled weekend. And he did well to hold those, and then gets promoted as well. And I know you're going to get to that later, but he just had a really good weekend. And on the radio, he was respectful to Bono. And Bono accidentally calling him Lewis was a little bit charming. I do like that Bono still call him Lewis. But at the same time, Kimi is sort of embodying that nice, cheerful spirit that Lewis did have during the glory days, which is great.
Should he be ahead of Ocon in a finishing result? In a Mercedes. Tristan?
Well, yep.
Yeah, if there's a little knock... I agree, like, you can't put too much pressure on the kid.
No.
I think ticking along... I mean, he was made to look better than he was finishing in 6th.
Yes.
I think if he finished in 6th on merit, in terms of the way that he raced, I'd be like, yeah, that is exactly what you need to be doing. Terrific race, but I don't know. It's like he was probably more of a back at the 10. I wonder whether there's just a little bit more he could be doing. I'm with you. It's harsh. It is harsh on my behalf, saying that. But as a Mercedes driver, I mean, this is Formula One.
But at the same time, you don't want to be a Mercedes driver that bins it into the wall because you decide to push too hard against an Alpine. Because that's what he did in his Italy FP1 outing. He pushed way too hard on his first lap out, throws it into the wall, and we were wondering, who is this kid that's going to be in the Mercedes next year? He's doing the right things. He's not talking himself up too much. He's just doing the Kimi thing he needs to do, and I'm quite happy about that.
I'll give him a couple more races of allowing that. Yeah,
I'd be interested to see, let's say in 6 weeks' time, when everyone gathers it and individuals and teams just settle down into a bit of a rhythm.
Understand themselves.
I'll just be interested to see where he is in the pecking order. Because I kind of agree with you there. And it is really, really harsh. But both rounds have fallen at his feet in result-wise for both.
Results.
Australia, was he the 4th fastest pilot out there in Australia? No. Conditions and that fell his way. Yeah. And then if you look at this weekend too, those around him that fell away, and then he's inherited 2 to 3 more spots there. So, yeah. But he's doing all right. He's doing what he's supposed to do, and he's not binning it. like I said, 6 weeks. Let's see where he is when everyone comes.
He's a watch, isn't he,
Yep.
at the moment? But yeah,
He's not doing anything wrong.
do I really, really like the kid? Absolutely. I reckon he's
just a kid.
He's just a kid, but I reckon he's a ripping guy to have on the grid.
He's got a level head. He's not doing anything outlandish. He's not doing anything stupid or saying dumb things or acting like a clown. He's just.
He looks like he's got a personality, though.
He's just driving.
He's not boring as batshit.
Yeah.
He looks like he's got a personality, and it's a good one.
And I like that he's just driving. He's just getting in and just drive.
He's having fun. He's having a good time in a Mercedes. That's what you'd want that sort of personality to be.
You'd never guess. Max Verstappen ended up in 4th
Really?
over the weekend. So,
Brilliant.
it was a weekend that was looking like it was going to be... he's dropping some serious points here.
Yeah.
Because I think he was due to be 6th, I think.
Yeah, it was looking 6th for a very
And I was like, that's probably the lowest result Max has had in a race where...
for a very long time.
It's just been a standard race for a huge amount of time. And then all of a sudden, no, he's managed to squeeze his way nearly onto a podium still. But yeah, that Red Bull, it's got little flashes of genius.
Yep.
It was not genius. It's got little flashes of speed, but over a long run, we saw in the sprint race it couldn't handle it.
Yep.
We saw in this race it couldn't handle the long run, and it certainly isn't conducive to anyone other than Max steering it anyway.
Correct.
Yeah. And that is a major flaw for a Red Bull that isn't winning, isn't it? Like the Max. I was having a discussion this week with somebody. Should they be redesigning that Red Bull so it's drivable for people other than Max to drive, so then you're in that championship in a better way? Or do you completely work towards your strength, which is Max Verstappen, and just focus everything on Max Verstappen, which is the direction they're clearly in at the moment?
Yeah. The rumour mill saying that he's going to jump ship, and if contract's up, then they're kind of caught in a hard place there at the moment, aren't they? Because you on one hand, you might want to do exactly that and change the chassis so it's a drivable piece of machinery for both your drivers. But at the same time, you've got the absolute man on the grid in your stable. There's a chance he might go. So if he says, I want this car like this, and you're doing everything to hang on to him, and the other hand is, you probably do that. Because that's what you lose. And that's a huge loss.
I feel like... I know he complains a lot. I feel like Max could drive a different car. Like, it feels like it doesn't have to be this pointy for Max to be unreal in it. Like, if there's anyone I would have tipped to be able to drive a car that isn't necessarily at his driving style, be Max. But maybe because of what they're doing, Max is actually making this car not being a midfield pack car. I don't know. It's an interesting one. You got any thoughts on it, Samuel?
Oh, the only thought is an unreasonable one, which is, what if we put him in a Racing Bulls and see what he does with a Racing Bulls?
Probably wins.
Probably. Yeah, so that's the only unreasonable. Otherwise, everything you've said is pretty much what I think. But
I do like that about you. You make me think about things I didn't usually think about. Imagine if in this world, instead of dropping Lawson to the Racing Bulls, they put Verstappen in there and he becomes competitive again. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be a story and a half? Mine would be blown.
Absolutely, but it would be a proof of concept. But again, unreasonable thoughts for...
I mean, they're talking about making Lawson faster by putting him in there. So why wouldn't it be faster if Max was in it, potentially?
Well, why then move Tsunoda up to the... we're going to get into that later, but...
Anyway, it is, it's an interesting... They're in an interesting situation. You cannot possibly feel sorry for them. I don't care who you are. They've had a wonderful stint and they are a magnificent team. I'm sure am I sure that they're going to get themselves out of this? Are you sure that they're going to get themselves out of this, Sam?
I don't know how... Because I'm not Adrian Newey or any of the technical directors of a team, but how do you change an entire car, chassis, engine... the way it delivers power, aerodynamics and everything to not be Max Verstappen? The amount of R&D you'd have to invest into making a car for Lawson.
Probably my question is, like, they're not going to... I can't see them getting themselves out of it this year. I think they're pinning a bunch of hope on the round 8 changes to wings. I think the team's got their heads around that, but I'm hoping that the season comes back to them a little bit. I think even they are wishful thinking on that one. They know they're wishful thinking on that one. My question is, next year, with all the personnel they've lost, are they going to get themselves out of this fourth fastest car position?
I honestly, because with what the regulations are, it's all just on paper, and nobody has really thrown their car out there. They could beat the 10th. Imagine if they came out 2026 testing, and they're the slowest out of everyone.
I can't see them being last.
But anything could happen. I have no idea.
What do you reckon, Tristan? With all the people that they've lost over the last 24 months.
They seem to be hanging their hat on this engine and being a manufacturer and the work with Ford. I don't think that's going to be too detrimental to them because of the pedigree that Ford have. But I feel
all the talk is the Mercedes engine's the one to have in the
I feel like they're kind of hedging their bets a little bit on the powertrain for the first time, which they will need to start thinking differently with the loss of Newey. So maybe that's not. I
just feel like they're in a world of unknown with all these key personnel that have left. I just think the
organisation as a whole, from the outside looking in, there's so much noise going on around outside of the racing, and we'll come to Lawson as well in a second. But look at all that's just blown up in really 2 weeks, and then the things that Marco says, and just the walkouts, and it's not in a good place from the outside looking in. So I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if it all falls down. If Max leaves, then that's it. I feel like it is. If Max walks out that door, then I'm not going to be shocked if they're mid-pack at best.
If Max walks out that door, there is every chance that team gets sold.
Yeah, it could very well.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure Red Bull's heart will be in it without Max, unless something amazing happens. Who knows? Let's talk Lawson. Okay. Let's talk Lawson. He has had the dirtiest start to an F1 career he could possibly have. Well, Mark II to a start to a career, I guess, but that he could possibly have. If it could have gone wrong, it's gone wrong for him. He has not found any speed in short runs. He hasn't found any speed in long runs. It is just it's just a horror show for Lawson at the moment. Now, before you go on the train of, no surprises there, where's his team at with Lawson, Tristan?
My thoughts on it end of last year is that I have never come around to the idea that he was the right man for the job. And I still really stand by that. I was talking to a friend at work on Monday about this, that if he was the right man all along, then the Ricciardo experiment doesn't exist. He's chosen in the first place for AlphaTauri, even over Nick de Vries, way back then, and then he has a couple of years to develop that. So there's a reason he's been sitting on the sidelines. And for me, it's because he has never been that quick man ready to go. And that the selection of Lawson has been very much that we've botched the Ricciardo experiment. And to say that he's got more upside than Yuki has shot themselves in the foot there. And I still don't think that he is the right man for that seat. I don't think he will be. And that's not to say, that's not just a knock on him.
For which seat?
It's for the Red Bull seat. He's there, he's doing poorly. And, poorly's an understatement. Dead last. You can't be dead last. Ted said what we're all thinking on the weekend. That, they've offloaded Checo, who was doing horribly. They hung on to Checo for way too long. They didn't give Dan the opportunity, which renders that experiment totally pointless. And now they've put Lawson in, and he is dead last, which is worse. I could probably tolerate it if he's 13th, 14th. You'd go, all right, you've broken even with Checo, you're younger, you're probably going to have a little bit more time, you might get ahead of him. But right now, he's so slow. I know that operating window is, so finite in the Red Bull. Everyone's got a small operating window, and Max has got the experience, and Lawson doesn't. It's not going to end well. And it just goes back to that point that he was really for me, he was never the right man to be chosen in the first place.
Stop looking at me like I'm about to swear, Roger.
No, come on. Yeah. Jump on.
I just feel sorry for where Lawson is in the team, for, and everyone's shooting off rumours, and you look at every bit of social media and everyone's saying this is going to happen by Japan and this and that and everything else. And it is unacceptable for anyone in the second Red Bull seat to be 20th. That means that the Kick Saubers are in front of you. The Alpines are in front of you, including Jack Doohan.
Everyone's in front of you. Everyone's in front of you.
Rookie,
every person,
every rookie
who's
in a
turning
worse
up to the
car
track is better than you. Yep.
You're meant to be in the 4th best car, man, and you are last. Not just 3rd last, you are last. And all I think is, whatever happens to Lawson, if they do anything with Lawson, I'm looking at F2 and looking at Iwasa, I'm looking at Daruvala, every single other Red Bull junior, and feeling sorry for them, because you are going to be the next pig to the slaughter.
I can't.
And it is brutal, and you're right. Why do we do the Ricciardo experiment? Why do we hang on to Perez? It feels like the past 5 years or whatever it's been has been an absolute phallus, and yet here we are with Lawson. We're the second round in, saying, why are you last, dude? Is it not the institution at this point, or is it really Lawson? I don't know. I'm feeling sorry for a lot of people, and I would really want to swear right now, but, I just feel sorry for that many people, and it's not fair.
See, I can't feel sorry. And that's the thing. Like, this is the pinnacle of motorsport. He's put himself out there.
Yep.
And all the rounds leading up to, I want this seat, flipping off Perez, getting in battles with Alonso, pointing the fingers at everyone else, saying even just in the last couple of weeks that I'm better than Yuki at everything, and I've outridden him. I can't feel sorry for him because he put himself out there to be in that seat. They shouldn't have chosen him. But if you're going to put yourself that far out there and ruffle that many feathers, like I've said that he has, and then you fail miserably, I can't feel sorry for you at all whatsoever. I really find that difficult to do with him.
Fair. All right.
Yuki, for me, has always been the choice. And I hate the comments that Marco's made in the last 48 hours, now telling us that Yuki's in the form of his life. At what point did he come to that realization?
Launch. I did last week.
I'm not launching because we said the dumb, just garbage about ranking rookies in Australia. I don't know what he's been looking at. Horner's going, yeah, okay, we'll have a look at it. Didn't you have a look at it? Like, you looked at the times? You looked at the test? You told us Lawson had more upside? You can't turn around in the last 48 hours and now tell us that Yuki's in the form of his life, because we've all seen it. And you made the wrong choice, and now you're backpedaling.
Do you know what the funny thing is, though, Tristan? So in the Yuki Tsunoda fan club group that I am in,
yep.
Shout out Josh and David.
I want to be in that.
They used to give me a hard time, those guys.
Yeah,
and I liked it. It was my favourite part of the week.
But Shane, back to the part of the front part of the podcast. But we're even saying in the chat is that Yuki should not be promoted to that seat. Like, what are you going to do with Lawson? Are you really going to put him into the Racing Bull, which Yuki is currently in control of that team? He's doing well. He's happy. He's doing the thing. Are we really going to switch those guys right now?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. That's what makes this driver selection even worse. To then only give it 2 rounds and say, okay, we got that wrong. You should have known that already.
Yeah.
This is the World Championship team at the pinnacle of motorsport. How do you not know that? We can all see it.
For me, there is every chance that Yuki gets in that car and does the exact same thing.
You're right. I totally agree with you there.
This is all the Red Bull issue. That this is getting back to, are they pinning their hopes all on Max being able to turn something around, or are they developing a car that is drivable? I mean, this car was the second fastest last year.
Yep.
And it's now the 4th fastest car.
Yep.
So there was a drop of 2 positions there. Even Verstappen is dropping 2 positions back into the fourth fastest. In some cases, it's going to be 6 positions if everyone finishes. Well, shouldn't we expect that if Perez was in the about 14th last year, and this car has gotten worse, shouldn't we expect that Lawson should be at the back of the grid?
But
is that not an expectation?
No.
Potentially?
Potentially.
Yeah, and so all I'm getting at,
yeah.
and I want to see Yuki in this car.
Yeah.
Because all I'm getting at is it could be the car. It could be Yuki could get in and do exact same thing.
Is Yuki going to be last, though? Because I don't think he's going to be last. I agree with you. He could do the same thing.
I wouldn't have thought he was last.
He's not going to be last.
I think the rookie aspect of Lawson
Yep.
is making things that little bit worse, which is why Yuki Tsunoda would have been a stronger choice. I think we all agree that Yuki Tsunoda was a stronger choice last year.
Yep.
However, if he's not your future driver, I completely understand why they weren't selecting him.
Yep. But then, why is he not your future driver?
Because of all the politics go on.
And I know the Honda deal.
He's not the future driver because every time he has an opportunity, he makes a huge mistake. Every time there's something that he can put his tongue into, which he shouldn't, he just does it. Like this week, he made some comments. Keep your head down, sunshine, and don't say anything like this is falling into your lap. Like, don't say anything. Even though you don't get along with Lawson, probably because he took your seat.
Yep.
You keep your head down, and Yuki hasn't got that yet.
No.
And he's been in the game for a long time. So he will be fine at another team next year, which is probably what's going to happen, unless he jumps into this Red Bull and does a great job, and all of a sudden they decide, oh no, we really do like Yuki, like they're talking about now. But yeah, I think, like, who knows what's going to happen? This car just seems to be an absolute pig. What would be the worst thing to happen is they hold on to Lawson for a couple more rounds, and as they start to work out this car, then they hand it over to Yuki and make Yuki look like Lawson was all at sea, when Lawson might have been able to benefit from a better car as well. But yeah, I don't know. It is just a schmozzle, and it couldn't have happened to a better driving coach than Helmut Marko.
Yeah, absolutely.
He deserves everything he gets in this moment.
Of course he does.
And I'm with Sam. I feel for all the drivers involved. I feel for Lawson. I feel for Yuki. Hadjar I've got to be worried about. Like, Hadjar is looking fantastic, isn't he? Yeah. But anyway, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you who's breathing a sigh of relief at the moment. It's not Lawson.
No.
It is the Haas boys.
Oh.
It is the Haas boys. After a horror Melbourne weekend where they discovered all sorts of
ranked them.
All sorts of horrible things at Melbourne. They discovered that they just didn't know were there. Things turned back to normal when there wasn't on a track as unique as Melbourne. Because remember, it wasn't just the wet race track. They were showing those signs all over the weekend. However, they managed to turn it around. They discovered some things. They've identified bits and pieces. I'm not convinced that they're actually fifth best. I think they're probably in the mix with the Williams and the RBs. Yes. But thank goodness, and they'll be breathing that sigh of relief because they have done that. Ocon had a pretty decent race, didn't he? In the end,
yeah,
he worked his way. I think he finished in fifth. I think maybe he was going to finish about eighth. I think without that, I think he and Behrman were pretty close together. Maybe they were one side each of Albon. Maybe actually he might have been ahead of Albon. But yeah, so it was he had a really strong race weekend, and it was a sigh of relief for Haas. Can't really say too much more.
No,
let's just wait and see.
Yeah,
they're in the contest, which is nice to see. Behrman, he is doing what rookies should be doing.
Yeah,
isn't he? That is the rookie race that he should be doing. He shouldn't necessarily be matching his teammate, but he's doing a fine
Close
job
enough.
And he's keeping his nose out of trouble. It was a solid weekend, wasn't it? Yep. Anything to add on either of those two?
No.
Okay. Albon in the Williams. The Williams is continuing to be in that mix. Albon is continuing to outperform Sainz at the moment.
So the news that I've read today is that they only have one chassis again. And what Sainz is running with is a bit of a mismatch in combination of parts from this year and parts from last year. And that Sainz drove the 25 chassis in pre-season testing, hence why he looks so good. And then that's been handed to Albon, and Sainz is now running with a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle of a Williams.
Yeah.
So that came out today.
Not officially, though.
No,
is that a theory?
No, it's been well written about at least a dozen times today. I've read it on a variety of platforms. Motorsport.com wrote about it too. So that should be worrying as well, because after not having enough spare parts in a car last year, you would think that if James Vowles is talking about those low-hanging fruits that they've grabbed on for this year, you would think that making 2 cars would be a given. That you need to make 2.
In the defence...
You need to make 2. Are you aware of that, Sam? That when you arrive at round 1, you need 2 of them.
But...
Because you have 2 drivers.
If you have...
You've entered 2 teams.
But if you've developed the chassis potentially in the wrong way, like Haas did...
You've got to make 2 cars.
But,
you don't make 1, and then...
Yeah, but...
Let him speak.
Parts
you
together.
only... But when you only test it at Bahrain... and you've only got certain results there. I think once we get past Japan, we're going to see the second 2025 chassis rollout. I think you just want to make sure that you haven't hedged your bets the wrong way. You've put so much development into this 2025 chassis, and it's like a pig of a chassis.
I'm not reading it anyway.
You should have it. I
don't know.
The infrastructure is a bigger deal than what is being made out at Williams, and I think it's still playing a huge role in their lack of.
I may have made a straw man defence, but
it's
hope there's going to be a second chassis.
It's not a good. You don't want to hear that. As a Williams fan,
I can't read it anyway.
I'll find it and share it to you. But after what happened last year, you don't. As a Williams fan, you don't. I'm not a Williams fan, but as a Williams fan, listening to that, you don't want to. You don't want to hear in round 2 that there are reports that you've only got 1 version of the car. You don't want to hear that.
But if that second version of the car is just outside the top 10, it can't be that bad.
No, but this is what I'm saying. But you don't want to hear that. And it's more about what happened last year. You want to come in with a lot of confidence, knowing that you've got this brand new driver.
Only you have the hang up about last year. Everyone else has moved on quite comfortably, and they're in the top 10. They're competing quite happily.
But you still need it. You got to have that kind of stuff there.
So that's what I'm reading there is not an official. That's a rumour mongering Facebook page.
I'll find motorsport.com. So I said it's been well written about today. It's more than it's.
Once again, that is another rumour mongering Facebook page.
It's across a lot. So
yeah, I mean the same places have reported that all sorts of moves have happened in the past.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm absolutely with you. You would want to be on top of things.
Of course you would.
And I'll be interested to see what Williams have to say about it.
Yeah,
but for me, like you've just gone straight across the Albon is in amongst it again.
He's doing all right.
They're doing beautifully.
They're doing all right.
That may explain the difference between Albon and Sainz, because Albon has been on top of Sainz, and that has probably surprised all of us.
Sainz was brilliant in testing.
Yeah,
so that's been a flip there too.
Yep. So it's that'll be an interesting watch. It'll be an interesting insight into where they're at, I guess. Where are we? Stroll in the Aston Martin, probably another team making a bit of a sigh of relief because we thought they were gone, whereas they're in amongst it.
How is he scoring points?
I don't know. I'm not allowed to swear again, but what?
How's he 6th?
What would Alonso have done if his brake duct didn't go up? Like, I'm really wondering what.
Where was he? He was 6th. Was he 6th in the sprint?
Ninth on the road.
I read that. I was probably passing out as I read that, so it looked like a 6th. I can't explain that to my 4-year-old son. I can't sit him down and have that talk with him.
Alonso.
He says, "Dad," and I'm like, "Yeah, mate." And he's like, "Who's Lance Stroll?" I can't have that.
Let me get you.
I can't have that conversation with him. He's not old enough, and I'm not ready to. I'm not ready for that talk.
I'm going to give you some more good information.
He
qualified. He qualified 14th and ended up in 9th. Now,
how do I
there were
approach that
3
with him?
disqualifications in that. 3 disqualifications in
that.
But he's still moving his way in.
I don't know. If you're out there, how do I have this conversation with my son? I'm not ready.
He was 9th in the sprint.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this.
One place outside a point.
I'm not ready for this.
No.
Are we gonna... And this is...
It's my team even, and I'm thinking, what is going on?
Are we going to sit here next year?
Don't say it.
I can't. Are we going to sit here next year? And are we going to crown him?
Crown him what?
No.
Are we going to crown him?
King Dickhead.
As a world champion?
Oh, is
he?
You've jumped a long way here.
I know. Is he going to benefit from Newey?
No.
Is he?
No.
How do you know that?
Are you genuinely
How do I know
questioning
that?
the
I'm
sanity?
genuinely
Yeah,
questioning
Because
this.
they will have a good driver
Is
beside
this
him.
going to happen? It's a serious prospect that he is there. The greatest aerodynamic designer of all time in this sport has arrived on his doorstep.
And Lance hasn't crashed. He hasn't spun out.
But he's going to have a
He
good
hasn't-
driver beside him. Because all the drivers beside him will be better than him. Yeah, no,
I just don't know. I don't know. Look,
I wouldn't get too carried away with that, but yeah.
Alonso just needs to not DNF so we can really get a gauge on
as
things.
painful
I'm really
as it
confused.
is, as painful as it is to say, and it is, like, credit to the last 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like,
Yeah.
because I have to.
When's this moment going to come
No,
from
but that's
for
all.
Williams?
But that's all.
When's this moment going to come from Williams?
I'm not on Williams because they tell us every year they're unreal. That's the difference. They jump around and go, look at us, and then they're not. So that's the difference there. That's the difference. Lawrence doesn't do that, and Aston don't do that. Williams keep telling us how great they are, and they keep not doing anything.
I don't know what you watch compared to me, but I never see Williams do that.
They're always, look what we're doing. And then, like, what are you doing? And it's like, we're finishing 14th. I'm like, cool. So just the last 2 rounds, credit, he's done.
But credit
where credit's due. He's done pretty well.
Goodness me.
And that's, you can clip that.
Last few rounds, Alonso.
Oh God! It's just this is the most painful part of the episode again this week. He even without the brake issue, he wasn't great again. Like, he really wasn't. He was 10th.
You don't have to talk me into it.
He was 10th.
The man
and
should retire.
I
a couple
don't
years
think
ago.
he was going to hang on to 10th either.
He's not even enjoyable in Formula 1 anymore, though. It's not like he's there for his charm and all that stuff. When Alonso came back, he was a new Alonso. He was refreshed. He was great. He ain't that man anymore. He's boring.
Melbourne
and
in the
horrible
wall. I
and-
was like, you serious? And then the only DNF. That's what made it worse. We got 10 rounds out, and I'm like, it can't just be you. And then it was. And I'm thinking, come on. Oh, so it's been chalk and cheese.
He was saved by the fact that other people got disqualified. That's worse than DNFing on the forefront.
That's what, and like brake issue, not his fault either. But he has not been great. He really hasn't.
The way he's been behaving in press
I
conferences,
hope that he. Yeah.
it's almost like I've got a tinfoil hat on. And has my crack finally brain swapped Alonso and Stroll?
I don't know.
Like, this is not real. But the way Alonso's been behaving in press conferences and everything, and the fact that Stroll's getting it on the road.
Maybe, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's the knowing within the 4 walls of Aston that this could be it for the great man, and that come December that this is really going to be it. And they might be aware of that already, and we're not, and he might know it too. And so then it's a case of, well, then if there's a little bit of better equipment, or if there's a better package, or there's a better strategy, then if we know deep down, and you know deep down, and maybe we've discussed it, then we're not going to give it to you because you might not be here next year. And it could very well be the case of that. Which makes sense as a team to do that. Like, look at what Lewis did to Mercedes.
Go on, keep talking yourself into this.
No, that's all. I'm owning that one. I'm just... It could. It really could be the case there. Anyway, let's hope not.
It's not.
Hopefully he wins next week in Japan, week after.
Hadjar.
Yeah, my man.
In the RBs.
My man.
Racing Bulls.
I've hitched.
Sonoda was running even faster, and then they decided that they wanted to do 2 stops, and no one else told them we weren't going to do that anymore. That was rude of everybody else not to do that.
They should have a 5th, a 6th, a 6th and a 7th. And they don't. They've done what Stake did 2 years ago last year, where all the points were there and they couldn't actually do a pit stop. They've done the same thing. Here's some points. Hey, I've got a great idea.
No, it was unfair on all the other teams not to do the pit stop as well.
Let's grab the horrific strategy.
It's like they all said, right, what we're going to do is we're going to all do a pit stop, and then we'll do another one later in the race. Is that okay with everyone? And everyone was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And then everyone just was like, nah, we're not going to do that anymore.
They've got to get it together, most of all, out of the top 4, they've got to collect themselves really, really quickly because they've got 2 great drivers that are doing very, very well. I'm incredibly impressed with Hadjar again. That RB works well, really, really well, and they just need to bank the points like Haas did last year now, while the others are still finding their feet. Grab them now because they're not going to be there in 10 weeks' time. But I think it's all working really well down there. They've just got to get a handle on it, which they're not doing at the moment.
Young Jack, he had an interesting weekend, didn't he? he had an event when there was a boring race to be had. Jack decided to get very interesting. His sprint race was a bit of a... It was a good little battle.
Yeah.
I actually quite liked his race. I know he got a few penalties here and there across the weekend, but I actually quite liked his race. And I liked his race because the RB was clearly faster than him.
Yeah.
But he managed to keep it behind him throughout all that race. Now I know there was a manoeuvre that scored him a little penalty as well, but I liked that there was a bit of racing in there. It would have been good for him to get that racing in. Is he currently in pass mark territory?
I don't know. I'm very much still jury's out on Jack in just every way, shape, or form. I'm not quite sure how I feel about him as a driver. I don't know. I don't even know if I can say if he's doing well or not well. I'm just watching for a while. I feel that I need to work him out and what he does and how he drives and just his demeanour. I don't know. So
we saw him really qualify really well at Melbourne.
Jack. Yeah.
And
that was really good.
He qualified quite well at times in China, but they couldn't put it all together, which is, it's a fairly typical thing. It seems like that Alpine is very much like that as well, though. Like, Gasly is all up and down. One thing I'll give him a pass on is he's always behind Gasly. Like, he's really close to Gasly when all things are considered. And so he's got the speed there. He's just got to build that consistency, I think.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Jack?
Yeah, I just really want him to finish a race alongside Gasly to really get a gauge, because obviously first race out in Australia, bins it. This race, Gasly was underweight, so is it really fair to make that comparison if there was something a little bit off to begin with?
Pickup, though? Pickup for the weight was the issue, so I don't know.
So
I think it was more the pickup because of the one-stop.
Yeah, so at the same time, though, I'm just wondering, how's he actually do it? Some of the battles into Turn 4 seemed somewhat great. Paige and I were on the edge of our seats watching him trying to make those defences and overtakes and everything.
It was a good little battle, that.
Yeah, and then
like once he sort of worked it out, it seemed to work quite well for him.
But then he mucked up a few, but at the same time, you've got to develop your racecraft somewhere, and I hope that he learns a lot more from that. And as we move through the rounds, he makes less and less of those mistakes and learns how to battle.
Yep.
So,
does he feel the rawest of the rookies?
Lawson does at the moment.
I sort of feel that he's the rawest of them all, and that's why I'm finding it really difficult to say yes, no, good, bad, nice, this, not great, there.
Yeah, possibly.
Mid-year, I feel like I could start getting a handle on what he is doing as a driver. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to approach him.
Gasly was disqualified. He had an okay race, but you wouldn't certainly... That Alpine's a bit disappointing at this time of year.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they'd made a step come China, and then come race time, you're like, oh, no, don't think they're quite there yet.
You were very bullish on it. You ranked him 4th. You said best of the rest before we got underway at Melbourne.
Devin Williams, yeah. And I was right about one of them.
Yeah.
But yes, so they're an interesting package. Like, Gasly is putting it, like, he's sitting 11th at the moment, which is nearly best of the rest when everyone's performing.
But it's not really at the same time, is it?
Well, yeah. Come qualifying speed, they was just about there. So yeah, they're an interesting watch. Remember what they did last year? They started nowhere and came through. So it'll be, is that going to be their thing? Like, that was a McLaren thing for a few years there.
Yeah. Or are they one of those that we're really not interested in 25?
We're working towards the 26. So, yeah, thoughts on the disqualifications. I mean, I don't know that you can have thoughts other than they weren't by the rules, so you get disqualified.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
I still find it amazing that was a strategy option. You're running your car that close to that, like the excuse is that you run your tyres too far down and they didn't pick up enough on the lap in.
A kilo's a lot, though.
Well, they can pick up to 2, they reckon. So they definitely picked up some. But yeah, but for me, if you know that the one stop is a strategy option, I think that was B. Are you running things that close? Maybe they weren't expecting so much tyre wear.
Maybe it was extensive and aggressive tyre wear.
Yeah, but I mean, their strategy originally was going to be a two-stopper, so they had to expect
it. I wouldn't be
it.
shocked that they run it that close. I think everyone would run it within an inch of where it should be.
Were they expecting the safety car? Because during F1 Predicted said that for the past 4 Chinese Grand Prix or whatever it is, there's been at least 2 safety cars.
But for the last 4, we've been in a totally different season in China. So
I guess the safety car doesn't.
The hot weather
do too much for them though.
Perfect racing conditions
because you remove the fuel for the way. Yeah. So for those who missed it, they came in at weight, and then when they removed the fuel, so he and Leclerc, when they removed the fuel, both went back underweight.
And that's after Charles had a new nose attached to it, so that end plate didn't impact that either.
Yep. While we're on that matter, then Hamilton was also disqualified because his wear plank at the rear of the wear plank was worn by 0.5 of a millimetre. Isn't it just... I love those numbers. I love how close they have to be. But yeah, too worn, so they were running the car too low. Another mistake. I guess you would expect that those mistakes can be made in Formula 1, but yeah, it's pretty tight margins, isn't it? Anything different for Hamilton's disqualification?
Nah.
Still rules are rules, isn't it?
Yeah, half a mil, which I can't imagine you'll get any gain out of half a mil, but rules are rules.
Kick Sauber went back to where we expected them to be. They did well in Melbourne, but like we said all last week, don't expect this to be the running order, and we found that out pretty comfortably. They're probably not as far behind as what we may have feared at one point, but yeah, I think they seem to be back to being the worst. 3, 2, and 1. Thanks to all signs, 3, 2, and 1. Who's your driver?
Driver of the day is our 1/16th Chinese man, Oscar Piastri.
Yeah,
at 3 for a faultless weekend.
We don't often give the driver with the strongest machinery the 3 points.
But I'm just going to take the opportunity to be a little bit biased because it's nice and early, and I don't think it'll be frowned upon that much.
I like the way he controlled the race.
Yeah.
I thought he controlled the race beautifully. I'm going to give him the 3 points too. Sam, is that where you're sitting?
Pretty sure I gave him the 3 points. I put it on social media so everyone knows.
I don't care what you put on. Whatever you think.
Oh, you put it on? Oh, that's good.
Yep, I said 3 points to Piastri for commanding the race. Yep.
Rightio. 2 points, Tristan.
Who's your 3 points?
Oh, yeah, no. Oscar.
Oh,
clearly.
Okay. Yeah, 2 points to George.
Okay.
A sneaky title contender? Maybe? Yes? Maybe?
Rightio.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know how I can argue with that, which annoys me a little bit. I'm going to go 2 points for George, unfortunately.
You can't.
Jeez, alright.
You can't.
Who's your 2 points, Sam?
I went with the birthday boy, Alex. Thanks for a good race in the Williams, and the battles that were actually shown on the broadcast were actually really well handled by him, so I gave 2 points to Albon.
He started the year beautifully, hasn't he? He has started the year really nicely. 1 point?
1 point? I'm going to give it to Bortoletto.
Oh.
For outracing Hulk. I know he went a lap down and finished in 14th. But it's the first couple of rounds have been very George-esque in Williams. Just rubbish car, but doing some okay things. And I think he is a lot better than what results in what he's doing on track at the moment. I think he's got a lot of upside. So, yeah, 1 point to him. I just like the way he's gone about it, and I think he's doing all right. And we know Hulk was on fire. He's reigning F1.5 champion, is Nico Hülkenberg. And he's been beaten in the race, so, yeah.
Did he go backwards for something, Hülkenberg? Was there a cause to his backwards momentum?
I actually don't know. Yuki went backwards because his front wing exploded.
Yeah. Bortoletto spun out on the first lap.
So, yeah, one to Bortoletto.
All right.
Okay, I don't know if we've ever given a point to somebody so far down the grid, but I don't have a problem with it. My one goes to Ocon. I thought that in the Haas, I wasn't really sure how Ocon was going to go, but I thought he drove fairly well. I think that's where my points go. So who's your dud of the day?
Oh, dud of the day. Jeepers.
Has anyone got one to start us off with?
It
feels like Tristan's got one.
It just has to be Red Bull. Just as an organisation and decision making, it can't be anyone else. It has to be Red Bull. honourable mention, though, for Dud.
Oh, okay.
For whoever dressed George in
the
the
spaceman
pre-show
outfit.
for the spaceman
Yeah.
with the fan in it. Now, we have these in Australia at Christmas time, and the dinosaurs. So you can go to, like, the reject shop and you can get a massive 2 to 3 metre inflatable Santa. And if you want to live inside it and run around like this giant inflatable thing, you can. And then attached to the side is a battery-powered air fan, which if you look at his spacesuit, that's why it was so puffed up. There's fans going. It's cooling him down. But he looked like he was going to the moon. So, yeah. Honourable mention, because that was one of the worst bits of kit I've ever seen.
I don't know. I don't think I saw it.
He's so
Paige and
bad.
I
I'll
were
find it.
Paige and I were making so
Find
many.
it. It's so bad. It's like Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. It's so bad, it makes it amazing. So honourable mention, because I don't know who thought of that, and it's not.
The other thing is that if
It's
you're
not
talking about
great.
that, you know about the Unicorn Man as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what was that?
Yeah, I know.
What's that? The breed?
Roger's completely clueless as the Unicorn
I've seen
Man.
the Unicorn Man.
You've seen the
yeah.
Unicorn
Yeah.
Man, okay.
Yep.
It was roughly about the same time as the Unicorn Man.
But you know
so
what? I love that. I wouldn't give that as a dud, because
That's
I
almost
actually...
that's like almost Hero of the Hour.
I
sort of
actually
stuff, yeah.
I actually sneakily like that. So yeah. Anyway, this is it here. This is the jacket, mate. That's what he wore. It's not really puffed up there, but it's got fans on the inside of it. So he was just full on.
And so it's
The
actually
Michelin
got a
Man.
purpose.
It's a jacket that's cooling.
thought it was a
it's
fashion
No,
thing.
it's cooling him down.
Oh.
It's got a fan like those Christmas things you get at Reject Shop.
I think that's actually really cool.
It's got a fan.
I like it.
It's not puffed there, but
That
it
is-
was mega.
that does-
It was mega
It
puffed.
serves a purpose.
But
I
is
like
it from
that
Adidas, though?
I like that he looks like a big esky, really,
I don't
walking
know.
around.
Yeah, it's a giant esky. Anyway, it was whoever chose that and went, hey, let's make it look. There it is, the Climacool. Here it is. It's a thing. The Climacool Adidas Tech.
I like
What
it.
is Adidas?
It is a Climacool, bringing cooling innovation to the track. This is from the official Adidas website.
I need this through my summer.
In hot conditions. Bringing Climacool innovation to the track. Hot conditions motorsport can experience. Designed in the Adidas lab and tested by Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 team. Garment made from high-performance insulated material.
You keep telling me that I like my devices.
With a disruptive aesthetic. Specially created cooling vest with industry-leading Inutech to help reduce skin and core temperature.
You're not helping your cause for Dada Day. This is actually going up. This should have got 1 point.
It sucks.
it's almost
This
getting
jacket
It's
should
the
have got 1
stupidest
point.
looking thing I've ever seen in the world. A cooling agent works in tandem with cooling fans to inflate the jacket and create a layer of cool air inside. It's the Climacool.
You're
Brilliant.
making it better,
I want
though.
one.
We
I
thought
want
it was
one.
But
poor
that's what I
fashion.
said. It's
What?
an honourable mention. It's so bad, it's so good. It can't live in Hero. It has to live in Dud.
I think that's Hero of the Hour. I think we've just found out for Hero of the Hour.
And Unicorn Man.
It's terrible.
Who's your dad, Sam?
I went with Ferrari to be
Shouldn't have let you go first.
yeah.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah,
to be
you go. Yep.
to be disqualified in two different creative ways, and then my honourable dud was Racing Bulls for pulling the two-stopper. Like, strategy was just the duds. Ferrari first, Racing Bulls second.
We've turned the Ferrari conversation around in the last few years. Since Fred has been involved, they've turned themselves around from the team that can always snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yep.
And always make that silly mistake, and they've just gone 2 races in a row, made some mistakes. Now, they went from Hero of the Hour with Lewis in the sprint race. I was like, oh, hello, and we're unable to back it up. But not only were they unable to back it up, they weren't even near that sort of result. So everyone else did all that learning, and they went completely backwards.
Did you feel the vibe around Lewis's sprint win was not as over the top as what?
I think everyone was a bit dirty that it wasn't a race win.
Yeah. Because I sort of thought, that's good. When it,
Yeah, you were expecting to be up and about.
I was
but it wasn't quite the
expecting
same,
just the internet to explode.
Yeah.
And people just went, oh, it's nice.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, oh, lucky one, that's good.
So no, I'm with you. Ferrari, they
Yeah.
changed the narrative, and now they've just gone and plonked themselves straight back in it by doing very Ferrari things. Let's see. I'm sure Fred will turn that around.
Yep.
F1.5.
F1.5.
It is a jumbled mess of unknown at the moment. I'm glad you have some time.
Yeah, no, well, we need some time. That's why I'm the CEO / junior vice president, all that kind of stuff happening of F1.5. I think it's pretty safe to say that McLaren are out, Mercedes are out, Ferrari are out, and Max is out. So they won't be featuring in F1.5 this year. Sorry for everyone if you had your hopes sort of set on that. But they won't.
Is there any
featuring.
chance that one of the Mercedes drivers might be in?
No,
not at this
I'm
stage?
not sure
Not
on
at this stage.
Kimi. I'm not sure at this stage. So maybe early indications say
No, he's not in.
that no, he's not in. And I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't feature. The Astons, well, I mean, we're going to need time on Aston, aren't we? Because we're not quite sure.
As in...
Are they going to be in or out? They're the ones I'm not quite sure. If
Aston Martin.
Well, I just don't know. Like, if they're going...
Are you thinking they're not going to be good enough?
Well, I'm thinking they might be good enough, and if they're going to sit 9th and 10th all the time, well, then they need to not be there because we know where they're going to be.
What gives you the impression they're ahead of Williams,
this is what I'm saying.
RB?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm also saying Williams and RB also in there. I'm not sure with those three because I think Haas, but then Haas as well. I don't know. But then maybe
Feels to me like you're not going to have
but
a
then
field.
maybe
We're going to have Kick Sauber racing each other.
Maybe what we're going to need is we're going to just need to take the 4 out at the top, and then it's going to be everyone else. And what we're going to get is a thrilling
best of the rest. That's how it all started.
Which is how it all started. And maybe it's not going to be as sort of
Back in our good old days.
Clear cut as we all think, and maybe they're actually going to live in their spot, but we're just going to throw them in and see where they land. So at the moment, if I'm launching it this week and we're starting the season official, then I'm probably just taking the top 4 out and everyone else is in, to be quite honest.
With Lawson.
Yeah. At the moment, yeah. Yep. There's rumours, and by rumours I mean I just had a random thought a couple of days ago. Do we go an F1.75 with just rookies? Do we go Formula R this year? Formula rookies? And we just, as a sort of a little side project.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
We're just ranking the rookies.
I'm
Formula
not sure you
R.
can with Mercedes.
I've heard I don't know. You'd obviously take Kimi out of that, but there's rumours. There's rumours flying around that could be a thing in my household, in my head, on the couch.
Fantasy.
Thanks to Chris at Dr. Auto Art for his generosity and support of our fantasy competition again this year. Get over to Chris at Dr. Auto Art on Facebook, Instagram, Redbubble. Subscribe to his newsletters for amazing percentage off discount codes, and just generally get around his incredible artwork because he is a great sponsor of the show. I wonder, did anyone catch on? Because we said last week that Chris is doing really well. He was 10th. And we threw out that you're going to be creating Chris an artwork if he finishes top 3. And I don't know. I don't read Fan Frenzy before we do it. But I wonder if anyone... Sam, did you hear that? Are you excited by that?
Sam commented.
Oh,
yes.
And Chris commented.
Oh, good. Oh, well, look, what did Chris say? Because I haven't read it.
No, it was not in Fan Frenzy. It was in something else.
It was in something else. Anyway, I hope it's gained legs. What are you going to draw if Chris gets top 3? Like, what are you thinking? Are you going to go driver? Are you going to go a moment in time? Are you going to do a track? What are you going to do?
I think
track's
a good idea.
Yeah.
I think track's a good idea.
I think track's a great idea.
Something Chris hasn't done, and so it might help with him.
Fantastic.
And he's in his studio, is I'd put track, and then I might put some little trees around the track, and some little people looking at the racetrack.
I feel like we might maybe go... maybe it's a top 10 finish for Chris and his
because
I feel my gut feeling is that the people want to see this, and I say by people I mean me. I want to see you make something.
It's got to be top 3. We don't weaken.
It's up for negotiation. So anyway, thanks to Chris. For the round, the Chinese Grand Prix looked a little bit like this. The top 10 for the leaderboard is new names. New names always trip me up. So sorry if I get all of this wrong. Declan Carr. Yeah, I think I've done all right there. Declan Carr, sorry Declan if that's wrong, 308 points. AJ Ferguson in second place on 292. Josh Lynch, 289 in third. David Parsons was in fourth place on 284. Emily Bruton.
Who's this?
Emily
Hello.
Bruton, you put your hand up, Sam. Like,
Who's
is
this?
Is this you under another name?
No, that's my sister-in-law. Welcome aboard.
Oh, well
there
done.
you go. I thought this was an alias of yours, Sam. Emily
no.
Bruton, 281 in 5th place. Taylor Keith, 280 in 6th. Nicola Taylor, 274, tied with Laws van der Veer on 274. And then in 9th and 10th, we've got Dean Holt on 267. And in 10th place is Rex Ashley. Now, I finished in 20th place for the round this weekend. I had 247 points, which is nothing to sneeze at. I had Science for 8, Piastri with 90 on the double. I had Doohan with 11. Alonso let me down with minus 16. Hadjar 11. Racing Bulls on 42. And McLaren on 101. So that was my round for the Chinese Grand Prix. How did you go, Sam?
My apologies. I was trying to work out how to pronounce Deglin. It's an Irish name.
Oh, is it? Declan. Declan.
Declan.
How'd you go, Sam? Are you still scrolling down?
173 points for the round in 36th place.
That
but
sounds generous.
Just 2 spots above you is Roger, who got 2 more points.
There you go.
Yeah, suck
Look at
eggs.
me go.
Suck eggs. Look at me go.
Suck eggs, I don't know about that. And for the round as well, just as the overall leaderboard for all races, top 10 looks a little bit... Oh, no, how did you go? What did you finish, sorry?
I don't know.
I got excited, sorry, I excluded you.
I don't know.
Just, sorry, force a habit that you didn't do well.
How many points?
How many points did you get for the round?
I don't know.
279 or...
279.
249.
Okay, that's all right. That's not too bad. Who'd you have in your team?
Not too bad. It's great.
That's not too bad, is it?
Yeah. Who have I got currently? I've got... I don't know. This isn't my team I'm looking at. I thought it was my team I'm looking at.
So...
You find that, Sam. I'll go through. Top 10
This is your segment, my friend.
I know, but
This is your
I
segment.
feel
You're
like
supposed
we
to be
can
running.
collect our own points in the early stage. Miscommunicate. I missed the production meeting.
Every
Top
week.
10.
Every week.
Top 10 looks a little bit like this. David Parsons leads all comers on 498. Andy Tails on 481. Robin Merrick on 456. Dean Holt in 4th. 445 with Nicola Taylor in 5th on 442. Paul Cook, Rex Ashley, Jolyon Dyer, Josh Lynch and Simon Blackburn round out the top 10. Chris is in 12th. We're on Chris watch here. Chris is in 12th.
Absolutely.
Come on, Chris. What's that all about? He's in 12th place. I'm in 20th to match again. So I
hear Alonso's a good buy,
yeah,
Chris.
out he goes. 330 for me. I'm in 20th place. You're in 26th place, my friend, on 311.
Terrific.
And I'll just,
sounds like a lot of points.
I'll just scroll down and find Sam. Where are you, Sam?
I'm a little bit of the way up. I think I'm at the 36th place compared to my,
That's my lucky
52nd.
number. Where are you, Sam? I can't even see you in there.
I've just gone into my team, and because I checked it immediately after the race finished, and Lewis had netted me so many points, and then obviously he's gone a -1 for the race.
Yeah, that's not good.
So
I'm literally... There you are, 43rd, Sam, on 180.
It's better than 44th.
It is better than 44th.
Adam Hughes and I got a few places up. Not bad.
Now,
we're getting there.
I'm always keen to look at the bottom because of the first round that we had with so many negatives, and Robert Santos is in 59th place on -26 for the round. It went pear-shaped for Robert because
I imagine he had Gasly and one of the Ferrari drivers and Ferrari manufacturer.
He had the double on Leclerc for -24. He had Fernando at -16. Ferrari is his constructor at -23.
Oh,
and the Alpine
yikes.
got hit with Gasly. That's his other constructor at -6.
It's really split the field. If you look at the highest scores compared to the lowest scores at the moment, there is a massive gap.
Round 1 has been a real indicator of your like if you
then round
nailed
two-
Australia,
but then round 2.
That's right. And if you didn't have Ferrari, you were looking pretty good. I did see someone put the Infinity on who was leading at sort of some point. I think it was after the sprint. Someone had the Infinity where you just pick your unlimited, and they had both Ferraris. Ferrari is a constructor, Max and both McLaren. So on Friday night, they were looking good. I guarantee they didn't wake up feeling great Monday morning because that went pear-shaped real quick. So if that was you, I can't remember who I saw with that, but they were leading in a big way as well. So anyway, that's fantasy, and thanks to Chris, and thanks to everyone who's taking part this year. Prizes for top 3, and get around Chris again. Have a look at his fantastic artwork. It's Easter time soon. Treat yourself.
Absolutely.
Christmas in
Better than eggs.
Christmas in 9 months.
Yeah. It is.
I got early on the Christmas last week, didn't I?
You've been early
Last
on the
year,
Christmas
sorry.
for a while.
Yeah, it's Easter time. I like Easter.
Yes. Any news?
Any news?
I mean, it's all on watch for Red Bull making a statement.
Yep. A little bit of talk on Colapinto joining and what's going on there. I saw someone...
Same news sources, I think, that
news
you've
sources,
read,
others, yeah.
read the Williams news.
Saw someone put a photo of Christian Horner standing next to Flav at the airport. For those that have never been in the paddock and stuff, they kind of all get along pretty well off track, so they talk to each other. So it doesn't mean that there's a signing happening at the check-in station of an airport in China. It just means they're standing next to each other. So we'll wait and see on that. A little bit of talk about V10s returning and some work behind the scenes of the 2026 regs being tweaked for the return of a V10.
Well, I think not for 2026.
Yeah, but a tweak to it.
To not let them run their full course is where they're looking at. So they're looking at maybe a 28.
Yeah.
So the regulations that start in 26.
So
in 28 might put in a...
They've got to do some tweaking to make sure it gets in. So that'd be nice to see.
Yeah, my question would be, let's talk purpose.
Yep.
What are you going to do with these V10s? I all aboard the sustainable fuel. I think I actually thought it was 100% sustainable at the moment.
No, it's
not quite there. Yeah,
I don't want to guess a percentage. I heard it was like 60 a long time ago.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, if that's your full purpose, I'm all for that. I mean, Formula One should be entertaining. It should be brilliant. So I don't mind them going all out and going V10s for Formula One purposes. Is sound going to come with that? Because
I hope so.
Do you really think that Formula One fans these days could take that sound at a race weekend?
No.
And can Formula One afford to do that? That's honestly, that's my question. I'll be really interested to see how people felt about those incredible screaming engines that... I mean, we saw the Benetton last year, and it just ran shivers up your spine.
I know, and I told you how disappointed I was in the Zip car on Sunday. And it was a F2. I was like, nah.
So for me, it's just like, what's the purpose? Where's our purpose for V10s?
Is the brilliant sound enough of a purpose for you?
No, absolutely.
See, for me, it is.
Absolutely not.
For me, it is.
I mean, Formula One has always been, we're going forward with technology, and sustainable fuel for me is enough of that purpose to be going forward. But I'm just interested in their purpose. For what I'm getting at is I'm worried that this is a certain FIA president trying to buy back some popularity with fans because he's gone through a very awkward spell of unpopularity. And one of the things that people have always said they want to see back is the big engines. And if that's his purpose for it, I'm not that convinced. Sam, what are your thoughts?
Like with some of the hybrid battery packs and everything, and how dangerous they can be if they can break apart, electrocute people, this, that, everything else. Sure, it could be for safety. And if we're running on biofuels, that's great. However, with how many street tracks we have, and some of the zoning laws for noise pollution, does that mean that we can get rid of Miami, Las Vegas? What happens to Australia if there are certain laws against noise pollution with the V10s? That's the only thing that might trip us up, is that...
we haven't had it in the past. I don't think it'll be an issue now.
Yeah, but...
And you can
but I'm with you, though. You forget about that noise. I mean, I remember... I have great memories of walking through Port Melbourne with Watsy on the way to the track, and you hear when a car starts up. It just starts up. You didn't have to be doing anything. You could hear it across Melbourne, and so, I imagine it gets old for people who don't like it, but I mean, it was a thrill. I'm with you. People will have forgotten what that is like. I don't think noise pollution is necessarily going to be the cause for us to throw it in. I mean, all these tracks around the world are desperate to get Formula One in. Formula One can do whatever they like, really, and they're going to still be popular in terms of trying to get a race to there. But I want to know his purpose behind this. If it is purely around pushing sustainable fuels, let's jump on board. It's interesting that it is coming from the FIA when it really, it needs to be a bit of a... I feel like, are we going to get to this point and Formula One are going to be like, no, we're not on board this. And then it's only been worked from one side. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting little watch.
And not many manufacturers make V10s. Lamborghini, Ferrari, they're all ramping down to V8 twin-turbo hybrids in a lot of their high-end cars. So where are we going to go with this? And who's going to sign on for V10s at that point? It's sad.
Which makes me feel like it's going to be it's just a little political play from the president at the moment, and he's just trying to buy a little bit of popularity. Any other news, boys?
That's it.
That's about it. Cool. We're off to Japan. We won't meet before Japan. Thoughts on the Japanese Grand Prix? It's a favourite of yours. You're a bit dirty at the time of year that we're going.
Yeah, I like that where it is that I could savour. I can go through a little bit of rubbish tracks, and I'm like, yes, Suzuka. So it's like, when you have tea and you eat your meat first. You eat the best bit first, and then you're like, ugh.
There's a bit of concern that we're going to go through a real lull after these first three races.
Yeah, because Australia's been brilliant, and Suzuka rocks.
Do we go to Bahrain? No. Do we go to Bahrain and then go to Jeddah, and all of a sudden just go through a little
Jeddah.
Well, I do too.
I like Jeddah a lot.
I do too. However, I actually think it'll be okay with some rookies in there. Put some rookies in Jeddah. However, last year, it gave very little.
Yeah, I think it'll be a different story this year, right?
Yes, possibly. Yeah. But, I just wonder whether, the Bahrain, Jeddah is just going to go through a little lull in Formula 1 at the moment, because we see that at the start of the season where you launch, but it's like, ugh. Yeah, so anyway. Thoughts on who's going to win?
Who's going to win? I'm going to go for Oscar for a back-to-back.
Oh, I like that.
Oscar.
That. I think I actually tipped Oscar for this one, I must say, for the China. So
I think we both did, actually. Didn't we? We might have.
I think we all...
Both very.
I think the whole podium, we said it was Oscar, then Lando, then Russell.
Yeah, I reckon Leclerc was in there.
I definitely had Max, I think.
But yeah, so, Oscar win.
Back-to-back for Oscar.
Oh, haven't we got ahead of ourselves?
Aussie pride.
And I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Who's going to be driving the Red Bull?
Who's going to be driving the Red Bull? Yuki's going to drive the Red Bull.
I've heard there's this guy in Japan.
Yep.
Who
is pretty good.
He's pretty good. He's a bit of a wild card. And he might be driving that Red Bull, but... what's your hope? We've talked about what we think's going to happen. What's your hope?
I hope Yuki drives the Red Bull.
Do you? Yeah. You hope that Lawson's sacked in 2 races?
Yeah.
Okay. Sam?
Going the opposite way. I'm going to go...
Who do you think's going to be driving?
Lawson's still in the Red Bull, and we're going to be scratching our heads like we did with Perez. Why is Perez still there? Okay. I think it's good. Everyone's going to be thinking, why is Lawson still here? What happened to Colapinto? What happened to Yuki? And there are going to be so many staring daggers at Lawson in that car. And Yuki's just going to have the time of his life in the best-looking Red Bull, Racing Bull, in that white livery, having a good time in Japan. That's all I'm hoping.
I've forgotten to bring this up with you guys. It looks crap on track.
No, it doesn't.
The old Toro Rosso peed all over it. Who do you hope is racing in that? That's who you think. Who do you hope is racing in the Red Bull come Suzuka?
Still Lawson. Give it a third time to see if it really is him. I just want it to be proved. Once you have 3 coin flips, you really know what's going on. So,
yeah, I feel like Red Bull owe him a couple more races. You made that choice. He willingly went into it, but no, I think they owe him a few more races for that. So that's my hope. I think the fact that we're going to Japan, I don't know that Red Bull are going to be able to hold back and not launch the whole Yuki Tsunoda's been promoted situation. So I think Yuki will be driving in the Red Bull, but I think the Japan thing has helped that a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see Lawson a little bit more, but it's probably going to be better for his career if they drop him. That's a weird thing to say, isn't it? And worse for Yuki's career if they promote him. What a weird world we live in. But until then, couple of weeks, we'll get back to you after that. I'll very much look forward to that. Keep your ears peeled for Fan Frenzy. I think we've got some great questions on there.
Another big week of Fan Frenzy.
That's right, exactly. Goodbye now.